Welcome everyone to the call today. Very excited to have Nobby Kleinman as our guest, calling all the way from Australia. One of our first products from a worldwide product now, and comes highly rated by one of our reps, Jonathan. And Jonathan Colbert has been just doing a great job bringing in different products, people, has a lot of great contacts, and Nobby's one of his friends, known him for years. This is a very exciting product to help people with their budget and money. I won't get into the details of the product exactly. Nobby, if you can, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what caused you to get into this, and then we'll jump into your product. With that being said, Nobby, welcome to the call.
Thank you very much, Vince. It's great to be here and to be associated with Agora. And thanks to Jonathan for introducing me to you. So I'm in Melbourne in Australia, and that's way down south. The coldest part, but my background is basically I used to be a financial advisor for 20-odd years, and the industry kept changing with compliance and regulation and everything like that, and I was not able to keep talking to my clients in a simple fashion that they could understand. And the problem with the industry was always that we were selling financial products rather than financial advice, and after I got out in 2006, I took a couple of years off, and I got bored one day, and my mind said, you want to get back into helping people with managing their money, but I didn't want to get back into the regulator side of things, and that was with insurance companies, etc. The one question that kept going through my mind the whole time was when women used to say to me, I don't want to know about financial planning, insurance, or investment. I just want to know, how do I manage my daily money? So I put my mind to the test, and one morning in the shower I worked out what it was that I had to do, and I sat down for a couple of weeks, wrote out the program, and then had it built over the next 3 months. And in essence, what it does is it actually shows people how to eliminate their debt in less than half the time and save thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on wasted interest and many years of lost time. And if they take that same money, but then they'll put that towards creating their future wealth for their retirement. So rather than getting to age 65 or age 60 when most people pay out a 30-year mortgage, and then having a 5-year span in which to start saving crazily for retirement, you take the same money that you would have paid on the mortgage and you put that into your retirement, and you should have more than enough money to live on. So that was basically how I came about working on the program. The program, as I said, was basically developed for women because they're the ones who are always struggling with the money. So they look at this, and to them it's just a no-brainer. It's so simple. Many guys look at the program. When you're talking financial advice to guys, it's like, just show me what the bottom line is, how much is it, and where do I sign? Women are much more involved, and they like to see the graphics, they like to see some of the results and things like that. So the program was basically developed for women. So that was about, I don't know, I did that back in 2008, and got back heavily involved in it just again recently. So it's something that, with the current financial situation around the world, is needed more and more by people, and they're starting to take it up, which is good. So that's just all about me. I live with my partner down here in Melbourne, and we own our own house. We're debt free. The feeling of being debt free is just exhilarating once you paid off that last debt, and you know that nobody can knock on your door and take away your house or your assets or anything like that. So I'm always happy when I'm able to show people what they can actually achieve, and if they apply themselves. That's me.
That's great. Let's go ahead and talk about the product itself here. These are taken right off the website, and you can also jump into frequently asked questions I have here also. We can just go down here. Why don't you tell a little about the product, and just tell me where to go, and just point me down if you want to know where we're at, okay?
Sure. So what you've got there in front of you, Vince, is the front page of the Money Rules website, and the Show Me button actually has a short video on there that will take people through an overview of the program.
If you're having difficulty managing money, the last thing you want to know about is investing or retirement planning. When I was a financial planner, I was often told by women, I don't want to know about financial planning, insurance or investment advice. I just want to know, how do I manage my daily money? You see, they were running out of money before running out of none. The simple advice was to spend less than you earn and pay the highest interest at first. Although they understood what I said, they didn't know how to do it. Even budgets didn't work for them. Budgets are scary, realistic and confronting. Budgets fail because they don't provide any hope for the future. But when I couldn't find a solution to give them, I built my own. Money Rules was developed for women and it had to meet these 3 criteria. Is it easy? The answer is yes. Can I do it? The answer is yes. And will it work for me? The answer is yes. I'll let you be the judge. Let me show you how it works. Every financial plan works simply on money in and money out. But it's not always that simple. Which decision should you make first? How will that affect the outcome? Can you do better? Money Rules works on the same principle, so there is no rocket science involved. Let me show you an example of Sam and Sally.
Say hi to Sam and Sally. They're just going to set up their account information and we'll show you the results. First of all, we'll enter Sam and Sally's income. And here are the different types of incomes they receive each month. Now we'll have a look at their mortgage. They've got a mortgage of $300,000, 3.95% and over 30 years, which is paid monthly. From here we'll go and have a look at their debts. As you can see, they have a car loan, a couple of credit cards and a couple of personal loans. The total of those is $53,000. They're going to pay $16,000 in interest and it's going to be paid over 98 months for a total of $69,890. Now let's jump across to their personal spending. Like all families, they have their normal household regular expenses and it's all categorized and put down into a chart so you've got an overview of it down here. Now taking a look at these traffic lights of red, yellow and green. Red accounts for the non-discretionary spending, which are the expenses that must be paid before everything else. Otherwise something will be turned off or taken away. Yellow is discretionary spending, which has no real set amount or is not a regular expense. So now we know about income and expenses, but have a look at the green at the bottom. That is telling them that they're overspending and the amount here is $667 more than they have as income. And there's only one way that they can be spent and that's on credit. Well, that was a quick wake-up call to Sam and Sally. Now they could see they had a problem. We need to move the green from the bottom to the top and keep it there. At this stage, all that we have done is to enter the information into the program. So far, nothing hard, right? Let's go and have a look at the savings report. And what the savings report is going to show you is that they have their debts that you saw earlier for $53,000, $16,500 in interest, a total of $70,000 they're going to pay out over 98 months or 8 years. We've changed nothing, so we haven't saved them anything as yet. Over and above that, they have their mortgage of $300,000 at 3.95% over 30 years, and they're going to pay a total of $212,000 in interest on top of the original $300,000, so they're going to pay $512,000. Now remember, we haven't made any changes. Let me show you that if they follow the program without having made any changes to income or borrowings or refinancing and still just on their current income, they can be out of debt in 16.5 years. When they do that, they will save $91,500 in interest and they will save 13.4 years in time. But we can do better. Remember, they're currently spending more than they earn, so we need to go and fix that. So we'll go back into their regular expenses. They will need to make some changes today so they can live tomorrow like few others will be able to. And if you stay until the end, I'll show you why their future is so bright if they change what they do today. And let's just quickly go through and make some of these changes. Most expenses can be found in the personal. So Sally's been spending $60 on haircuts each month and she said she's going to change that to bi-monthly. Sam's been smoking and Sam's going to give up his cigarettes and quit. Sally's been putting aside $50 per week for clothing. She's going to change that to monthly. Sam's decided to cut his drinking in half and go, instead of weekly, he's only going to spend that amount fortnightly. And they've been putting aside $100 a month for a trip to Tahiti, which they obviously can't afford, so they're going to have to stop paying that for a little while until they can. We've also found that in the food section, Sam's been spending $100 a week at the office, and we're going to change that to $30 because Sally's going to make his sandwiches and he can still buy his coffee. But they can do even better than that. In here, they're spending $100 a week on takeaway food, and instead they're going to spend that once a month and have a really good night out. And look what's happened. We've taken the green from the bottom, where it was negative at $667, through to the top, where we now have $930 available as a surplus. But we can do even better than that again. Let's go and have a look at their debts. When they're paying off these debts, they have different interest rates and different amounts. So which one should they pay off first? Sam and Sally think that they should be paying off this credit card first. That's their highest priority. So we're going to have a look at their debts and see which strategy makes more sense to pay off the debts far more quickly. Now that they have that extra money available, it will be directed towards paying off their debts first. So let's check out Snowflake, which is the lowest balance first. Gone from $16,500 down to $10,000 in interest and only 36 months instead of 98. Is that the best? Can it be done better? Let's have a look at the highest interest rate first. Slightly less, still 36 months. What about the way that's been entered into the table? No, that's higher, so we won't go with that one. What about the highest priority first, which is what they selected over here? Yeah, that's come down, but it's still 36 months, so not much of a change there. And let's have a look at the lowest priority. And that's gone down a little bit, but still not much there. Snowflake was the best one to go with at $10,127 in interest, and that's going to be over 36 months. So we're going to apply that to the program. Let's go back and have a look at the saving report. So they had $53,000, they had $16,500 in interest, they had 98 months or 8 years. What we're going to be doing now is having them paid out in 3 years, and they're going to save a total of $6,430 in interest. And here's their mortgage. 30 years, 3.95%, $212,000 in interest, total repayment of $512,000 over 30 years. However, if they do what the program tells them to do, which is take this money after 3 years, money they didn't have access to before, and apply that on top of the mortgage, they would actually be out of debt in total in 9.33 years. They would only pay $67,000 in interest instead of $212,000. They would save nearly $145,000 in interest, and they would save 20 years. How does that look? Here we go. $212,000 in interest under the conventional method, and $67,000 is all they're going to pay if they follow the Money Rules program. And instead of $16,500 in interest here, they're only going to pay $10,000 in interest here. Instead of 30 years, they're going to be out in under 10 years. And here, instead of 8 years, they're going to be out in 3 years. We're going to go to the yearly balance report. The yearly balance report looks like this, and it says this is the conventional method. So if they pay their mortgage down each year as they've been told by their normal lender, this is what it will look like after 9.33 years. However, at 9.33 years, if they follow the Money Rules, they will be totally out of debt. So they can choose to go the conventional method, or they can choose to go the Money Rules method. If they take all this money that they've been paying, they're going to save a total of $151,000 in interest. They're going to save nearly 21 years in time, and they're going to be saving $2,190 roughly each month, plus their mortgage. So we're looking at these numbers here. So the available surplus is the money they've been paying each month on the debts, the amount on the mortgage. They've saved $3,600 per month. They saved nearly 21 years, and they've been paying interest at 3.95%. We take that exact same money. Let's have a look what happens. The red section is the 30-year mortgage period. They'd get to the other end and have zero. There'd be nothing They would have saved very, very little, if anything at all. However, we've got them out of debt back here under 10 years and no debt. If they take exactly the same money, and we're talking about this money up here, the $3,600 a month, if they take that same money, which they would have been paying all the way through here on the mortgage, and they take that and apply it towards an investment, which could be a retirement fund, they could actually end up with $1.4 million. And they've decided, rather than putting in all of that money, they're prepared to put in just $2,000 per month. So let's calculate that and have a look at it. And there we go. Instead of 1.4, they're happy to receive $783,000. That's why Sam and Sally have jumped into Money Rules. Sam and Sally could do even better with a number of different options, and they could run those numbers through the program. Sam and Sally took action to manage their money and create their future wealth. There was no need to remortgage, refinance, borrow, or live on baked beans for 10 years. Although, any of those options might help to improve the situation. And for that reason, you should consult a qualified money coach or financial advisor to make sure you get the best results. The more optimized your plan is, the sooner you will achieve financial freedom, independence, and security. Imagine what your life will be like when you have no more debt and lots more time and money available. There's nothing stopping you. All that's left right now is to get started on the rest of your financial future. Money Rules is guaranteed to save you money and time. All you need to do is use it. Now it's time to get started on the rest of your financial future. Get your own Money Rules right now.
If you scroll down to that next section, which basically starts there with if you want to, and it's obviously saying if you want to wipe off tens of thousands or thousands of dollars of mortgage and debt, by doing that you'd slash repayment times by half or more. And in going through the program, just putting the information into the program itself will actually give people a result. Then going in and refining that information through a couple of different things that we do in there will actually give them better results. So you can see that every step of the way you'll actually do better than if you do nothing. So get out of debt far more quickly, obviously, and learn how to live more financially carefree, simply because when you've got control of your money and you know what's happening, where it's going, where you're spending it, and you learn to value the money that you earn, then you're going to have a lot more controlled life with your money. And so that'll make it easier. You're able to obviously create the future wealth, as I said earlier, with regards to the money that you do save in the wasted interest and the years over which you pay it. And all of this is done just on current income. So what the program doesn't require anybody to do is refinance, remortgage, borrow, or even get a second job, or live on baked beans for the next 10 years. This is all done just on current income. So then they're in the right place if that's what they're looking to do. So the next video down just basically goes to say, here's what you wouldn't do. You wouldn't go through life without a parachute. You wouldn't jump out of life without you wouldn't jump out of an aeroplane without a parachute. And so that particular video then just goes through a few scenarios of the problems that people do suffer with. Is the cost of increased living, bills, everything goes up except your income. And part of that problem goes back to the global financial crisis back in 2008. A lot of people lost their jobs and their assets and many things like that. And then, of course, especially in the States, you had the big mortgage crisis where the subprime loans came into effect and people could no longer afford to live in their homes. Then you had things like Hurricane Katrina that went through and put so many people in financial trouble as well. So there's a lot of things that happen through life that people need to cover themselves for, and getting out of debt just makes it so much easier to be able to contend with other issues in life. So you might scroll down the next section there. The reason, as I said earlier, was that women were the ones who actually said to me they wanted help with managing their money. And part of the problem with a household is you have boy meets girl, they get married, they buy a house, they have their first child, so she stops working, so automatically they're down to one income. And when she's ready to go back to work and put the child into childcare, they generally find out they're pregnant with a second child. So now she's not going back to work, she's stuck at home, they've got an extra mouth to feed. So the income that's coming in is now being, spent on other things, and there's less and less available for lifestyle. This often goes on. Marriages become stressed, relationships become stressed. So money is a big thing, and often what it ends up with is divorce. So money is one of the biggest problems that causes divorce. And so therefore women are generally worse done by because they suffer with lesser savings because they haven't been able to work and put money aside. There's domestic violence, which obviously happens in a lot of cases, and then they've got to try and find places to go and live for themselves, and that's not the best thing to be able to do in life. Illness, divorce, widowhood, the number of women living in poverty is below age 45. They make up 45% of the people living homeless, and above the age of 60, I think it is something like women make up about 70% of single people and living in poverty. So throughout life, women are dealt a bit of a bad hand when it comes to money. So, we need to try and help them overcome that. So that's why there's a bit of a focus on women and helping women get themselves established. The program doesn't work just for women, it works for men as well. But we always, as men, we tend to read the instruction manual last. We know a lot better than anything else. So for many women, a man is not a plan. And as it says there, Money Rules was developed for women. This is not a budget. One of the things that people hate is budgeting. And the moment you say that word, it conjures up a mental image of restriction, being told what they can't do. They don't want to do budgets because they already know they're in trouble before they even start. And so the last thing they want to do is actually have that confirmed to them. So budgets are very realistic, they're very confronting, and they're very frightening. And a lot of people would rather stick their head in the sand and hope that someone's going to push a big green button and make their problem disappear. That's not going to happen. Things only get worse, as we all know. So it'll give you fast results. The moment you put the information in there, the program starts giving you the results. It is easy to use. It had to be easy to use. And my next comment is sometimes perceived as controversial, but it's not. The program had to be blonde-proof. Now, I say that because my partner is blonde, and she has absolutely no technical idea when it comes to computers. You give her a program, show her how to log in and start using it, and she's fine with it. But she's only not long ago learned how to use Google in an iPad. So we're really progressing. But she's not technically minded, so she had to be able to use it. She goes in there and she has no trouble with it. So it was developed for women, as I say. So it's easy to use. Going down that little bit further, that a financial plan is true. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. People don't look towards the future. They're living for today. They're spending all of their money today and not thinking about what do I need for the future. Around about 50% of people who get to retirement, and this is in Canada and the US and Australia, the number is around the 50% mark, higher in some and lower in others, but they get to retirement with an average retirement balance of around about $147,000 in Australia, and they're still owing roughly $60,000 on mortgage and personal debt. Well, when you take that $60,000 out, there's not much left to live on. The average length of time that some of that money will last is around about 9 years. Men will live on average to 78 and women to around about 82. So the money is going to die before they do. That's not the sort of lifestyle people should be living. It's very restrictive. We've got people here who are having their electricity turned off because they just can't afford to pay it. And during the winter months, that's the last time that you want your electricity turned off for heating. So I'll go to bed early. They don't even watch TV. It's a terrible lifestyle to contemplate simply because they failed to plan. And when you talk to a lot of them, they say, why weren't we told about this back in school? So this simple plan will actually help people plan from now right through until their retirement and beyond. So the core benefits of the plan is just, again, how quickly and easily you can do this, and future-proofing, again, goes into the future. You use it as a financial plan for the future. It works with your information that you have now, and it allows you to actually see into the future. And that's where it works better than a budget. A budget is money in, money out, and that's all that's left over, if there is anything. Whereas this actually takes you forward into the future. It does become a financial plan. So going down the next section, where we're just talking about, it's for fast action takers. A lot of people will buy programs in the hope that all they need to do is just press the button and it will give them magic results. To a degree, Money Rules does that, but you actually have to use it. It's like anything. You don't buy a car and leave it in the garage. You've got to take action and use these programs. So it'll take them from entering their data in the beginning right through until what they actually need to do. Money Rules will show them which debt to pay off in which order, so they're optimizing the minimum amount of interest they'll pay over the minimum amount of years to pay it off. So you've got to use the program to find that out. It doesn't do it all by itself, but it's just a push of a button. Yep, we can keep going down. So it is pretty much like having a crystal ball and a roadmap. It'll save the future because, again, like I said, it shows what the future will look like. Just looking at that particular graphic there, that's one of the graphics that comes up in the program, and what it's saying is that particular red section at the bottom shows people a 30-year mortgage period. So if I can get you to just use the pointer on that one for me, Vince, if you go to the end of the red section there, at the end of the line, that red line there and to the end, that's generally a 30-year mortgage period. What Money Rules does is, if you now take it to the end of the green section, the dark green section, down along that flat line, the dark green, just there. So with a lot of them, a 30-year mortgage can be brought down in the first instance quite often by about 10 to 12 years, and that's just the first run. So we've just saved people about 12 years, and that's all of their debts paid out. If they take the same money that they would have paid over the next 12 years and continue to pay that into a retirement plan, you'll find that they'll end up at the top of that light green section. And depending on what they've been putting in, that could be anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million, even more. It just depends on what it actually covers in their mortgage repayments and what they've saved. And that's what the program shows. The blue section is if they did the minimum in this particular case, I use $1,000 a month. So if they took $1,000 a month over that particular period of time, in this case, these people, I think, were going to end up with around about $300,000. And the top of the light green is about $1 million. So that's roughly what you're seeing in the program. And that's the basis of how the whole program works. Since that graphic was done, I've added on another section which then shows them how long the money will last in retirement and what they need to do to make it actually work better. So that covers off on that one. And this particular lady here wrote me a very, very long email with a lot of information. I just had to cut it down as much as I possibly could to put this in there. But I found her online one morning at about 2 o'clock on Facebook while I was working in the early stages. And I said, well, what's going on? She said, I'm really worried. We've just bought a minivan because they were having a second child in the family. And she thought she'd mucked up her budget and weren't going to have the money available to cover their expenses for the week. And I said, okay, well, look, I'll come around and we'll go through it. So I did, and we sat down, and within an hour we had all of her information in there, and she just went berserk after that. She went through her gas and electricity provider, her insurance company, her credit cards, and very quickly she was able to save a whole lot of money. So the program gets people to optimize their spending as well as the other sections that are involved in interest and time and everything like that. And obviously we know that if you're doing a budget, it comes down to, well, there's so much money coming in and so much money going out, and you've got to start cutting. Money Rules doesn't tell you to cut anything. It says to modify your behavior. But if you can find areas where you can save money on all the different things, then obviously all of that is going to make that payoff period far shorter, and the getting to accumulating wealth far quicker. So it just comes down to common sense. People keep spending and spending and spending without going back and looking at how much they're spending or where they're spending, and if they can do better or if they still need it. Because quite often they'll sign up to something and it's just done automatically on a credit card, and it's taken out. They don't even look at it, they don't reconcile it, and they don't check it. So Money Rules, what a lot of people have said is it's finally got them to look at their whole picture, and it's like a helicopter, from 30,000 feet up. They're able to look at all their financial information and get a much better picture of where they are. Being done like this, it's they're able to see where they are and where they're going, and if they make those changes, how much better off they'll be. So it is that crystal ball into the future, and it then becomes them taking action. And as we scroll further down, you'll see all of these are all women that did this. They were absolutely intrigued. They were amazed at how much interest was being paid on mortgages. They just weren't aware of it. And that's the problem with a lot of people. They're happy to go out and get a mortgage and sign up for 30 years without understanding exactly what it's costing them. And in most cases in the past, it's been double. You might take a $500,000 mortgage and end up paying over 30 years close to another $500,000. So, one house for you and one for the bank. So there's lots more testimonials that are there, and they've always come through from the past. Yeah, could keep going down. I mean, the people will find all these on the website, so that's easy to follow through. Particular section you've got there is another video where what I've done is shown examples of some of the people who have been through the program and what they would have paid and what they've ended up saving. So we have 2 columns in the program in the savings plan report, and on the left-hand column it shows what the original amount is, and the right-hand column shows how much they're actually saving in terms of dollars and time. As we go down, that's the payment options. Originally the program was only available at a lifetime payment of $997. And when you think of what Money Rules does for financial advice as such, and it's not really financial advice, it's more about education and awareness, I guess. So it's not financial advice in as much as go and get life insurance or income protection or anything like that. Money Rules is simply a calculator, and while I say simply, it's a very powerful calculator. So $997 for the amount of money and time and effort and everything it saves. People can now do this at home, in the comfort of their own home. They don't need to go and explain anything to anybody, feel guilty about anything. They take control of their money and their financial future. So $997 is a very, very cost-effective investment into their future. But I realise that some people might be sceptical about committing to an amount like that. And for others, having the money available up front might also be a bit of a push. So I came out with $47 a month, or $497 for a straight annual amount. So at $47 a month, you're somewhere, I can't remember what it is now. I can't think of what the amount is, but you save about a month and a half or something if you pay annually in advance. And then they can always switch across to the lifetime at whatever stage. So, and then it says, I'll even show you how to get it for nothing. Well, I won't show anybody how to get it for nothing until such time as they can show me that they've actually done the work and taken the steps necessary to look after themselves. So, and I think then we've got frequently asked questions. It's just straight out. It's web-based, so you don't have to download anything to your computer. You can access it from any computer globally. And do we offer training? One of the things that's that happens is people will go and do they'll go and buy a program. They might get involved in starting up online and then not follow through, and then they'll blame the program because they failed to get the results that they were expecting when they bought the program. So I offer an accountability program. So accountability is around about $1,500, and for that we will talk to them on a regular basis for about 12 weeks, and make sure that they keep themselves up to date and keep committed to the program. But they don't have to take that on board. It is suggested, it is recommended, and even if they don't do it with me or with somebody who's qualified in this sort of area, they should just do it. Like I say, you're not going to buy a car and just leave it parked in a garage. You need to take it for a run. There's nothing to install. There's no other ongoing fees. Nobody needs to provide any personal details, no banking details. Not interested in any of that. We don't get you to commit to anything. You buy the program, you just access it online, put your information in, press the button, and follow what the program tells you to do. And if you do that, you'll see the natural progression as you follow that in the program, that you will eventually get out of debt far more quickly, and you'll save thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have one lady, I showed her how she could save $2 million, and I think it was something like 5 or 6 years from memory. She bought 10 properties as her retirement, that she was going to live off the income, and she lost her job. She was on a 6-figure job, and she lost that job and then found out that they were short for money to pay these mortgages off. And we ran through the program. I told her that she was short by about $180 a week, and could she find that type of income to replace that? And she did. She actually loved teaching children how to play piano, and picked up a few clients and was more than enjoying it. It was better than her 6-figure job where she was working with companies, and made up her $180 without a problem. And she wouldn't have known if it hadn't been for the program. She had financial advisors and her accountant who were saying to her, sell one of the properties to eliminate the debt. And she didn't want to do that. She was a bit pig-headed with that. She said, I didn't buy the properties to sell one. I want to keep them. Just tell me, how do I get around this? So the program was able to show her exactly what she needed. So there you go.
So one of the questions, maybe because you're out of Australia and working with American budgets and all that, can you kind of talk about that? Because a lot of people on the call are from America.
Yeah, sure. Look, when it comes to managing money, it makes no difference what country you're in. In fact, money rules will work in any country and with any denomination. It is just about numbers. I've not put any... I haven't made it about dollars or pounds or euros or anything like that. It is purely and simply numbers program. And it will work anywhere. One of the things that I know that in the States you do have some quirks with regards to escrow and what monthly payments are with regards to mortgages and things like that. And I would say to people, don't make it difficult. Keep it simple. A mortgage payment is a mortgage payment. If you include insurances and things like that in it, then put them in as an insurance. Just keep those things separated. Don't make it difficult. It doesn't need to be difficult, and that's what frightens a lot of people into not doing things, unfortunately. One of the other things that you have over there is the interest on your mortgages are tax deductible. And so people say, I don't want to pay out my mortgage because I get a tax deduction on it. Can I tell you that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard? It may work fine if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a tax deduction. But why would you keep paying interest just so you can claim it as a tax deduction? You're not going to get 100% back. You're only getting a percentage back. Take that money and invest it in another property or invest it in your retirement plans. Make the money work for you. That's a very small approach for people to say, I'm not paying out my mortgage because I claim a tax deduction. But seriously, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. But because it says tax deduction, people think it's of value. I don't know. Not for me.
Yeah, misunderstandings on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Nobby, we really appreciate being on the call. We know that you're over there at 4 o'clock in the morning and very committed, but we really appreciate this, and we're excited about having your product here in Agora.